to order. Please, the pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. The first is March the 12th. Are there any corrections, omissions, or?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes from Tuesday, March 12, 2019.
I second.
A motion, second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Wait a
Who
minute.
is it?
Abstain.
Oh, 301. Okay. We have another one, which is March the 26th. I'm sorry, is that right? Yes, March the 26th.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes from Tuesday, March 26, 2019.
Are there any omissions?
second.
Correct? I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
No.
Oh,
4-1.
4-0.
301.
301. Who abstained? Who was?
Me.
Okay, you were not there, yes, okay. And then the last one, we have May the 14th.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes for Tuesday, May 14, 2019.
Second.
I have a motion and second. There is one misspelling, Susan. It's Corey's, should be Coreed.
Okay.
Okay, you saw that.
Oh, yeah.
With the correction, all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? That's 4-0. Thank you very much. All right. Citizens' time. Is there anybody who is here either to speak on or just would like to speak to the board in citizens' time? Thank you. Chairman's report. We had a meeting today with the Department of Environmental Protection. Susan, we just mention what went on today?
So we had a subcommittee meeting of the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission, and the Planning Board staff was there as well. And we discussed low-impact development, things such as detention basins, rain gardens, and the new MS4 permitting requirements surrounding those. So an MS4 permit is an EPA permit that cities and towns are required to get. And there's been some changes to the MS4 permitting, whereas low-impact development structures that need to be considered if feasible. So we discussed Board of Health concerns with utilizing low-impact development structures, especially certain kinds like detention basins in residential areas and rain gardens and how they're designed. And I think the meeting went well. It seemed as if the Board of Health was on the same page as the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. And I feel as if we can move forward really well in, making the changes that are required under the MS4 permitting.
I was there with Susan and Christine. They acknowledged the fact that we do not allow standing water. And to that end, they said that it's perfectly acceptable with their regulations, and the Board of Health right within their purview. So it turned out to be a very, very good meeting. The next is applications. Application for a minor engineering change, Northeast University, 147 South Bedford Street. Mr. Buckley, are you alone or are you with?
I have people in the audience, but I don't want to clog your agenda. So I will attempt to give an overview. As you recall, the last time we were here, we went through the minor engineering change and the changes in the site plan. Besides the usual construction alterations, the major one being a shifting of the front entry to the facility based upon an assessment which was requested by the Board of Health initially of the decommissioned missile silos. We discussed a condition at that time for monitoring of that construction condition going forward. Christine and I have spoken over the last few weeks, We went to the Board of Health, the Planning Board. The Planning Board approved the minor engineering change with the caveat, subject to the condition that you had discussed, knowing that we'd be back here for that. So that's open from their standpoint, waiting for your condition. What Christine and I spoke about originally was an annual inspection, but I delivered a letter this evening that our structural engineer had recommended that the condition with respect to the concrete be assessed and repaired within 5 years. What I would propose is that we do, in addition to not having any weight or vehicles going over the area, which the site plan provides, what I would propose is that at 2 years, we do a interim monitoring assessment, come back, if necessary, discuss with the board and tell what the conditions are. Just to do an annual, it's an unnecessary cost, so that would be the only suggestion I'd make.
Mr. Buck, this is the first time I've seen this evening,
Right.
but I therefore have to ask my professional staff, Susan and Christine, how do you feel about 2 years?
I think 2 years is adequate. It was actually the applicant's original proposal to do it annually, but I guess looking at the budget, they thought, 2 years was fine.
Susan?
Yeah, so I just wanted to know what the difference is between what you're proposing. So 5 years is going to be a more comprehensive
Well,
inspection?
the structural engineer suggested that the concrete deterioration that was noted should be assessed and repaired perhaps in a 5-year period. And so the inspection would be 2 years out, assess it at that point in time, come back and have that discussion. But the intent is to address it within the 5-year period.
There's a plan for repair? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. There's a plan for repair in 5 years?
Probably as the site develops, yes. So we'd have to come back for that.
Anyway,
We recommend that periodic inspections of the north and south bunkers coincide with our recommendation for repair within 5 years. That I didn't hear about.
That, if you read the first paragraph up above,
we never talked about repair. We talked about the
if
possibility.
necessary, yeah.
Filling
There's
them
there's some concrete deterioration that should be assessed, and we'd be back to present that if it's necessary. We're not gonna do any repairs without having it run through here.
Christine, do you
So
remember?
I guess I'm asking, you're proposing to inspect every other year?
Within 2 years of today, we would come back with a report. Their timeline is 5 years, that they think that there is they noted some concrete that should be repaired within a 5-year time horizon. Our proposal is that we look at it in 2 years, come back, address that situation, let you know where we stand and what we propose to do. at that
Instead of 1 year, you will review it and come back to this board
That's right.
in 2 years.
And if there's a repair that has to be done to that concrete, we would present the plan at that time.
So it's possible that repairs could be done or need to be done within 2 years, is what you're saying?
No, they're not going to.
Assess it, yeah.
You're gonna
yeah.
assess in 2 years,
Right.
and then if it comes out okay, you're gonna reassess in 2 years again?
Well, we would present our findings to the board, and at that point in time, whether another 2 years is reasonable, or we would make a proposal at that time.
So the only thing I'm concerned about is how we're gonna condition something like that.
Why don't we just condition
So-
it that in 2 years, we present an updated assessment?
Well, then, after you, but I think the board's concern is to, a continuous assessment for the life
Right,
of
no,
the silos.
why don't we say, in 2 years, we present an assessment, and then the board will determine what continuing monitoring will occur thereafter, if necessary.
Rather than 1 year.
Right.
Right, and that would be okay, but what I'm saying is, I think you need to condition it for a long-term type of condition, whereas
Well, we're
saying,
saying
What if-
it's open-ended.
it's never
What if
gonna
it-
stop.
But what if it doesn't, in the assessment in 2 years, it doesn't require?
That's what I'm
Or-
saying.
yeah.
And then we would come back, at that point in time, you'd say, okay, we'll see you in 2 years. You would set the next, we would have to come back in 2 years with an assessment.
I have no problem. Why don't we just say that an assessment will take place every 2 years until further noted? Would that be okay?
Or at a minimum of
Well, not a minimum, it's
Well,
gonna be in
what-
2
yeah, but
years.
Well, I think the only thing that's throwing me off is this recommendation for repair within 5 years.
Yeah, that's.
So that's the only thing that's throwing me off. I don't mind 2 years coming back and just saying, well, see how it goes, or to every 2 years,
No.
but this 5-year thing is throwing me off.
Well, Doctor, I think that's the point. In 2 years, we would come back and we should be able to address that condition. I think your condition should say, what is the status or any repairs necessary at that point in time?
Should take the 5 years out.
But the engineer here, the consulting engineer and the senior principal are recommending repair within 5 years.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we say, we'll come back with an assessment in 2 years with our recommendation
At that time,
at that time, how to address any repairs that are necessary.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
that's fine.
Okay, so can I just look at so the proposed condition says the applicant shall at least annually inspect the structural integrity, so shall at least inspect the structural integrity every 2 years.
Oh, it should say that the applicant shall submit to the Board of Health a report within 2 years addressing the structural integrity of the silo and address any repairs that are necessary.
I think that what my board is saying is they want it further out than 2 years.
Well, he wants to change the condition. He wants to change the condition from at least annually to now in 2 years.
In 2 years.
And come back and say,
This is where
Now
it
what?
is. And then at that point in time, you, as the board, will determine
The schedule.
going forward, whether it's okay, or we have to do more inspections, or how we're gonna repair it. We're not trying to get off it, we're just.
no, I
We
get that, Mr. Buckley. I just want to make sure that we have that when we come back in 2 years, everybody knows what we're coming back to talk about, because a lot happens in 2 years.
Yes, so that's why I'm trying to do this without significantly changing our first condition here. So it says the applicant shall at least annually inspect the structural integrity of the abandoned missile bunkers located on the property. So instead, we could put, the applicant shall inspect the structural integrity of the abandoned missile bunkers located on the property every 2 years.
Why say every two? Why do you say in 2 years?
Because every 2 years would be every 2 years
But what I
instead
hear,
of just
what I
in 2
hear
years.
Mr. Buckley saying is he'll come back in 2 years with the results of an evaluation, and then we address the further out, depending on
They
what
wanna
it
go
shows.
But what
one
I'm
year?
saying, if you don't put it in the condition, I don't know if you have any way to require them to do that. Because what happens if they come in 2 years and they say,
Why don't you say, thereafter in a schedule approved by the Board of Health?
so we could put something in there.
We'll
At
determine
that
that.
time,
Yeah,
the Board of
yeah.
Health shall
That's what I thought.
decide.
Point, like,
Yeah, okay,
On the appropriate monitoring schedule.
okay.
Okay, that,
So,
which will be every 2 years.
Yeah,
Or sooner,
We don't know.
it may be
Could be
sooner.
sooner.
yeah.
I mean, or we can just keep this condition. So obviously, the engineer thinks there's really nothing to talk about until 5 years. We're not comfortable with that. So every 1 year is too frequent, so.
Just add 2 to that instead of 1.
Yeah, make it 2 years, we'll come back in 2 years.
so is it okay to say what I just said? Is that how you want me to change the condition? The applicant shall inspect the structural integrity of the abandoned missile bunkers located on the property every 2 years.
Yes. Until, well, we
I
can
thought we
change.
said
No.
in 2 years, and
In
then we'd
2
come up
years.
with
In 2
a
years.
scheduled plan based on the
Why
report.
don't you say every 2 years unless otherwise directed by the board?
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
That's exactly
That
fine.
sounds good.
That way you'll have the flexibility.
Well, we could change it to 1 after, you're
I
right.
would say,
Right.
can we
And
just
you
make
should
sure?
reference
I get-
this letter.
This has no.
I guess it's a little worrisome that he said the repairs would be necessary within 5 years. and
Well,
I
he's not
think
saying
that-
it's
It's not
necessary.
necessary, yeah, it
He
doesn't
said
say
they
that.
should be.
Recommendation.
Should be done.
Recommendation, they should be
I just want to
repaired.
make, I want to make sure that this is in whatever, that when we come back in 2 years, that this is part of the information to review. So I want to make sure that this is not something we don't
Why,
talk about.
why don't you address that in the condition, say as set
I
forth?
just want to make sure that, this document
No, no, I'm
is
just
ready,
saying-
is is part of the packet that we get in 2 years, because I think this is an important thing to
Right, so
discuss.
maybe in a condition, in accordance with the letter and reference the letter.
Okay.
You got all that?
I can reference the letter, yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me. Is that fine with everybody?
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for minor engineering change with a condition with a change in the proposed condition number 1, which will now say,
The applicant shall inspect the structural integrity of the abandoned missile bunkers located on the property every 2 years unless otherwise directed by the board. And then I'm gonna reference the 6/25/19 letter. It also goes on to say, such inspection shall be done by a licensed structural engineer who will complete updated reports providing an opinion on the structural integrity of the bunkers. Copies of these periodic reports shall be provided to the Board of Health for review. Upon request by the board, the applicant shall appear before the Board of Health to discuss any issues that the board deems necessary arising from such periodic structural reviews.
can that be amended as part of my motion, that not upon request of the board, but the applicant shall appear before the board in 2 years?
So,
So,
Oh,
not upon request, but
right,
this
take out
condition.
upon request.
Yeah, the applicant should appear with the Board of Health in 2-year period, whatever.
That would coincide with the report.
Yep.
Do your engineers have anything else to report or like to make any comments?
I hope not.
That's my motion.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second,
I have a motion, a second. Is there anything else? Any other discussion?
no.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? 4-0.
Democracy in action.
Had a
It's
discussion.
beautiful. It happens here at the Board of Health.
I don't see you. Have a wonderful summer. Be safe.
Have a nice Fourth.
You as well.
very much.
You as well.
34 Sunset Drive, well installation permit for geothermal heating system.
Good evening.
Please sign in. Please print so we can read your name, thank you. And sir, would you please sign in? And sir, you are?
Jared Moan, Geothermal Project Manager, Skillings and Sons.
Okay. And I'll wait for your colleague. Sir, your name?
Hiran Patel.
And you are the project manager, and Mr. Patel, you are?
Homeowner.
You're the homeowner. Very good. Welcome to Burlington. We have before us an approval for well installation permit for geothermal heating system. I have a number of questions. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
No, I was impressed. I can
Yeah,
say.
we've had.
We have had this before.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so Mr. Mullen, you will oversee the drilling
Everything,
for everything, and you've done these before?
several.
How many have you done?
How many systems?
Yeah, multiple.
Yes,
Okay, and they all work?
yes. Depending on the engineer, but yes.
Is the engineer here?
No, I don't know. I just don't want to say anything,
Okay.
if there are.
How do you have to drill down over 400 feet, is that correct?
On this project, yes.
Okay. A couple questions. If you drill down and you put in a system, it begins to leak, we're kind of curious, how do you fix a leak in the system? 400 feet
Well,
down.
first off, after you set the loop, you pressure test the loop, so you make sure that there will be no leak. Once you get it from the manufacturer, you pressure test the loop before you even set the loop. Once you set the loop, you pressure test it again. Once you pipe it, you pressure test it again. So there's a series of things that there should be no reason for a leak. And if there is, there's this stuff called loop conditioner that you can put in the system where it will find the leak and it will seal it up.
And the next question, there are also horizontal pipes?
Yes.
And how do you drill those horizontal pipes?
The horizontals are not drilled. The horizontals, after the vertical boreholes are complete, you do it's called a reverse return piping on it, where you lay the pipes down horizontally. Everything's done through heat fusion, so there's no mechanical fittings underneath the ground. It's all done via heat fusion.
Please understand, we don't have many of these in town.
Understood.
So you're educating us right now. The other question is, approximately how long is the life expectancy of a system of this type?
Life expectancy, well, they give you a 50-year rating on the pipe. So obviously a manufacturer, when they manufacture things, just like they put pressure on it, like a pressure rating of 200 PSI, there's no way that at 200 PSI, that's all it's rated for, right? Because then they wouldn't be able to stamp it 200 PSI. They have to pressurize it to more. So for the 50 years, if they're giving you a warranty of 50 years on the pipe and stuff, then obviously it'll last longer.
Two more.
I haven't been doing this for 50 years, so it's really tough for me to...
Two more quick questions. Is there any safety situation in the system? It's 200 PSI, can it,
The system's only gonna probably operate at about 35 PSI max. It's only designed for flow, it's not designed for pressure, right? The slower you move the water through a heat pump, the more extraction you're gonna get. So you don't want fast-moving water. You want semi-turbulent water, right? You know, Reynolds factor, if you will, to be able to move the energy off the sides of the wall of the hole, the borehole, if you will. But the pressure's only gonna be 30. I mean, the highest I've seen one is 50 PSI in cooling mode, so.
and backup? Is there a backup system in case
I'm
it gets
unsure
very
of-
cold?
I'm unsure of what the HVAC company is, you know, proposing for backup. Sometimes they do an electric strip inside the heat pump.
Mr. Patel, do you know, is
There's
there,
electric backup.
for the house?
There is, yes.
So if something fails, you do have heat?
Correct.
Okay. Those are the questions that I have after reading all this material.
Thanks for asking. No, I'm good.
Does anyone have any other questions?
No, it's a fascinating,
Yeah,
it's a
wow.
fascinating process. I guess what is the secondary system? I'm just thinking about the winters we've had.
He said electric.
Is it electric?
Electric.
Okay, thank you. Why doesn't the water freeze during the winter?
You're gonna put an antifreeze solution in it, so it's a glycol mix.
Oh, so it's just like you were preparing your three-season house for the fourth season.
Yeah, it's just in
You
case,
blow it
like-
out and you put
Correct, so the
It's a-
antifreeze is in case the temperature gets too low, you have that
Got it,
protection.
got it.
It's a food-grade glycol mixture that goes in with the water, and that really would only freeze in like between the ground surface and the frost line, because below that, that's why the system works, because the ground stays at an even temperature.
Is it constantly flowing through those pipes?
When
I mean,
when the system's operating, yeah.
System.
okay, so when it's not operating, it's
just sits.
downtime, so it has the potential to freeze in that frost.
No, I mean, it's about 5 feet, 4.5, 5 feet down, so it's not gonna freeze at that point. Not to mention, once it's sitting, it's actually extracting energy from the earth, so that won't happen.
Last question.
Fascinating.
When you're drilling, it says retention pits will be dug behind the drilling rig. First, those are temporary, correct? And how long will they be there?
So my assumption on the drilling process, it'll take 4 days to drill, so those pits will only be there for 4 days.
And then they'll be smoothed over?
Correct.
Okay. All of my questions have
I'm
been...
just curious, Christine, have you had any other applicant come before? Not since I've been on the board, I haven't seen it. I
No,
was just excited to
the
read it.
board did approve two 10 years ago,
Okay.
but this is the first one I've looked at it since I've been here.
Mr. Patel, are you new to Burlington?
I've actually lived here for 28 years.
Oh, you've lived for 20 years?
Yes.
Oh, very good. I'm just was going to welcome you to the town, but you're already here.
Preschool, kindergarten, high school.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the permit for the closed ground source heat pump system at 34 Sunset Drive,
And that is the well installation
the
permit.
well installation, right?
Okay,
I'll second. Oh,
we have a second. Any other discussion?
none, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. We're interested in see how it works. So,
Outstanding.
but thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have 3 animal permits now. One has, 151 Mill Street cannot come this evening and will be postponed.
Got it.
So 26 County Road, would you please come forward?
We have a run on permits.
We have a run of, so let's get
What
going.
did you say?
A run of,
We have a run on permits.
here we go.
Chicken run.
Chicken.
Okay.
Just keep
The
getting
first
worse.
is 26 County Road, and you are, Mr. Sir?
Richie Moran.
This is my son, I'm Lynn Moran.
You're Lynn Moran. And I'm sorry, your first name, please?
Richie. Richie Moran.
Okay. You are applying for 6 chickens, correct?
Yes, we'd like to keep up to 6.
Samantha, would you please introduce?
Hey, so I went and did an inspection. They're in the middle of actually building a coop themselves. It's beautiful so far. It's gonna be even better. I don't know if you have pictures of it.
I do have more pictures.
Okay. So, it meets the setbacks. They've got a plan to build a run, and I don't see any problems with granting a permit.
And you approve? Was the animal control officer involved?
He did go by, I think, all 3 of these properties.
He
Said
did
had-
come by last issue.
Okay. He said he had no issues.
No issues. And the abutters were notified. Are there any abutters here? There are none.
No.
No? Are
What
there
happens if you find a rooster?
I guess I give it to the Humane Society.
Thank you. If there are no other, any other questions? If none, do I have a motion for approve?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion to approve 26 County Road for the keeping of animals. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. You
Thank
have your
you.
permit. Thank you very much for
Good
coming.
luck.
Spring Valley Road, keeping of animals. And your name?
Megan Chiango, legally Margaret.
Very good. I just needed how to pronounce your last name.
Chiango.
Chiango. Thank you very much, Ms. Chiango. You are applying for the keeping of 4 chickens.
Yes.
Please.
I did an inspection. They already have a coop. It's been set up for a while. They've got a run. The only thing is it's right next to the property line. They will need a variance for the 15 feet from the lot lines, but we already have, you guys have the letter from the neighbor that they said they have no problems. Chickens being close to the yard, they compost, everything looks good. I have no issues.
I'm just looking for the name of the homeowner, the name of the person.
Yep, I know, manage.
There's also a large fence at the end, like, that separates the chicken coop from the property.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a letter. Are there any abutters here? Does anybody have any other questions?
What happens if you find a rooster?
We don't have a rooster. Some ladies.
They would not go afoul of the regular, oh, I'm sorry.
You
There are no
couldn't
other-
resist, could you?
I couldn't resist, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve 5 Spring
Are we
Valley?
doing two votes? Are we doing a motion to approve the permit and then a motion to approve the variance?
The variances individually?
You can either do it, yeah,
Do-
individual,
oh, okay.
you probably want to do the variance first.
Okay, we'll do the variance first.
So moved. To approve the variance.
I want to make sure that I have the person's name. Excuse me, do you have the person's name that
Is it Bethany and Keith O'Regan? Is it- Yeah, and Catherine
They're
Copeak?
toys.
The
Yeah,
two of them, yeah.
The toys and the
Yep,
O'Regans.
I saw those.
Yeah, and they signed approval for it. They said there is no issues with the coop and that they enjoy the chickens.
I have a quick question on this, and this going forward, and I think we know the answer, but if a person rents a house, they must get the license, not the owner, is that correct?
I think in the regulations,
we-
it says
The
that.
applicant gets the permit, which would be the person who owns the chickens, but the owner of the home is also in on it. So
Given
they-
approval.
they
To approve.
get
Given approval.
notified, they get the letters, they would be, held responsible.
So Judith Homing Chan, who owns the house, has approved it.
That's a different one.
Is that the
That's a-
different?
that's a-
Okay,
That's the next one.
I'm sorry, I stapled 154 with
Yeah,
with
it's
yours.
okay.
The staple
But
issue.
you're right, there is one like that, Ed,
Yeah,
because
it's
I
a
read it.
stapler,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
5 Spring Valley Road is your house.
Your house.
Got it.
We have, first for the variance, for less than,
Right, from section 6A to be less than 15 feet. And we have a motion from Libby, right?
motion
Right.
for, and we have a second. For the variance, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, you have the variance. Now for the license, do we have a motion for the license?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have your license and your variance. Thank you for coming.
Great.
And
Have a
you
good
own the
night.
house. All right.
154.
154.
Next is 154 Mill Street, keeping of chickens. I've already asked the question.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Would you please?
So, I did the initial inspection and they were keeping the chickens under their deck. So we had a discussion. The chickens have since been moved, to the middle of the yard. They've been surrounded by a fence, which is really pretty. They're protected from, predators. The feed is stored where it's supposed to be. Waste is composted in the garden, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't grant this permit tonight.
It's very appropriate, actually. It looks like chicken wire.
Yeah.
So actually, I have just a question. Why 5? Why not 4? Why not 6? Because you already have 5? Is that why?
Yeah,
It's interesting how we get these numbers. I mean, I know that now we permit for regardless, but
yeah. My daughter,
I'm just
my
asking.
daughter likes to have 2 of them, and she said, "I want to chew." So one for everyone else of the family,
Yeah,
and she wants chew.
there you go.
There you go.
See,
Okay.
I knew there was an answer. And what happens if you find a rooster?
No, I don't think I want to bother the
Okay,
neighbors.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Roosters are no-nos.
Are there any abutters here to speak on this? Because I know they received notifications.
No, they said they won't come in. They won't be coming.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Is there a variance in this one too? I thought I
No.
saw it. No?
So the property owner was notified.
That's
They
right.
gave
Okay.
written
Yes.
approval, so everything's good.
I make a motion to approve the permit for keeping of 5 chickens for 154 Mill Street.
And I'll second.
I have a motion, second, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, you're all set, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Okay, we have one more, 151 Mill Street. Do we have to vote for that postponement, or just you'll put them on the next agenda?
Yeah, you can vote to continue that.
I make a motion, we continue the variance, the permit discussion for 154 Mill Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Okay, thank you.
It's 151.
Proposed bagel shop,
Wait, do we-
282,
Did you,
It's
did we?
151. Mill Street.
151, where?
Yeah,
Mill Street.
Mill Street.
I thought you said 154.
no, I think he says 151.
Yes,
Right.
one, yeah.
Yeah, no, she was questioning us.
It's okay.
So I want to make sure.
Proposed bagel shop, 282.
Bagel shop in Burlington.
Mr. Chairman.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are ya?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just to introduce myself, my name is Mike Talopoulos, owner of
It's up to you.
the
It's
Bagel
up to
Bar
you.
LLC.
If you feel more comfortable.
Here tonight requesting variance for a external grease trap for the space located at 282 Cambridge Street. As you'll see on the application, I believe my menu, the concept, cooking equipment will limit the amount of fats, oil, and greases that will be discharged into the town sewer system. In meeting with my licensed plumber, he's planning on providing the properly sized internal grease trap, which will be free from obstructions and easily accessible. In turn, we'll contract with John Sewer and Pipe Cleaning to set up a monthly maintenance program with them. And those logs will be kept accessible for health agents' inspections. I do understand that the variance may be revoked if it is determined the discharged grease is sufficient enough to cause sanitary sewer line blockages or increased maintenance of the town sewer lines, of which, of course, I don't believe will be the case. And that's kind of it.
Lox and cream cheese toast.
I was looking at the avocado toast.
Oh, look good to me.
We have someone,
It's on the menu.
before we begin the discussion, Mrs. Wallingevitz wants to disclose.
I just, in the interest of disclosure, I have to say that I frequent Mr. Chalopis's other businesses
Well, that would be all of us.
quite frequently, and I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
Fine, thank you, she disclosed. Please put that in the minutes, that she disclosed in case there are any
Yeah.
questions. So you're not gonna clean the traps yourself? Somebody's gonna be doing that for you?
Yeah, at the other restaurants too, we work with John Sewer and Pipe Clean to have them professionally maintained. Again, we'll set it up monthly and discussing with Marlene as well. If it seems that it needs to be done more frequently, of course, we'll make sure it's done more frequently, as well as, our own help doing it on a, daily basis, but it's not the same as a real, professional cleaning.
Marlene, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, my recommendation is for the board to vote to approve the variance from Section 4, Part A of the grease trap regulations and allow the new food service establishment to operate without installing an external grease interceptor with the following condition, which Mr. Tulopoulos already summarized for you.
Do we have any other questions?
When do you open it? Proposed?
Depends on you guys.
No, seriously.
Realistically, probably September, beginning of September.
This isn't just a rubber stamp. We take this very seriously. You don't want to be the first one in the history of Burlington to have a revoked variance.
Of course.
So please keep those logs, keep your vendor, your third party who's got to do them. If he or she is not doing them on time, get them here, because you want to make sure that if Ms. Johnson comes in and does a surprise inspection, that they're up to date.
Of course.
You don't want to be here if that happens.
Of course.
Any other?
No, thanks.
Do I have a motion, please, to approve?
I move we approve the variance for, request for variance for Section 4, Part A, regarding installation of an external grease interceptor for the Bagel Bar at 282 Cambridge Street in Burlington.
I'll second.
I have a motion, and a second. Will you have margarine there?
Of course. If you want it.
In case there are people who
Good
are
answer.
lactose intolerant at
Consider
bagel.
it done.
I did see that.
I just asked the question, I'm not
No,
ordering.
it's a good question. I saw the gluten-free stuff.
Yeah.
If nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Susan, do you have a question?
For the sake of the minutes, The Bagel Bar, is that the name of your?
Yes, it is, yeah.
You have his proposed bagel shop, but you're,
The legal entity is the Bagel Bar LLC.
Okay. Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome to Burlington.
Good luck.
Thank you very
Good luck.
much. Okay, the next is Corporate Chefs, 70 Blanchard Road, external grease interceptor. Maybe you should have done this last time. Ms. Johnson, would you please introduce?
Sure. I'll have them state their names because I haven't met them yet.
Mark Giordano from Corporate
We
Chefs.
spoke, okay,
And Mark Conley, Capstone.
great. So these gentlemen, they represent Corporate Chefs, which is a corporate cafeteria that operates inside office buildings. So they currently have a cafe at 70 Blanchard Road, and it's being relocated to another area within the building. And so there is no external grease interceptor on site there to begin with. And whereas they're moving their location, needed them to come before the board for this variance. So the type of food that they serve, there is a menu enclosed, breakfast and lunch, Monday through Friday. They're requesting a variance from Section 4, Part B, which is installation of an external grease interceptor for renovation purposes. So my recommendation is to vote to approve the variance from Section 4, Part B, and allow the new food establishment to operate without installing an external grease interceptor with the following condition, which is the food service establishment operator and the property owner both understand that this variance may be subject to revocation, suspension, or expiration as determined by the Board of Health. A variance under these regulations may be revoked, modified, or suspended only after the food establishment has been notified in writing and given an opportunity to be heard at a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Health. Reasons for revocation, modification, or suspension of a variance include, but are not limited to, a determination that food service establishment is discharging grease in quantities sufficient to cause sanitary sewer line blockages or increased maintenance of sewer lines.
Quick question. It says here, Section 4, Part A. It is what?
It should be B.
It should be
It should
B.
be B, yes.
So that will change in the motion, please. Are there any questions? Have you inspected them before?
I have at their existing cafe at 70 Blanchard.
And have you had any issues?
No, we have no
No
issues.
issues.
Not a lot of fog.
No.
That's oil and grease fog.
Been through it in other towns.
You've been here before.
It's a very low volume calf in building right now. The hope is with the remodel, they modernize it, people stop going. So we operate at 78 Blanchard Road as well, but two separate ownership groups. So obviously we want to keep the people from 70 in 70, not going to 78. So that's the goal is it'll get a little bit busier, but still not not more than $200 a day probably in revenue.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the variance request, Section 4, Part B, for installation of external grease interceptor for Corporate Chef, 70 Blanchard Road.
Second.
If Ms. Johnson approves, so do I. I put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. We wish you well.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Starbucks coffee kiosk at Macy's, 75 Middlesex Turnpike, external grease interceptor. And please,
Extending the boundaries of coffee service.
I see we have a Starbucks fan in here, so that's.
and please stay in your seat at the end of this portion, because we have to talk about a plumbing variance afterwards,
Okay.
okay? And you are, I'm sorry?
I'm Jennifer Owen, I'm Area Director for Foods Division at Macy's.
Jamie Keith, plumber.
Dave McDonald, general contractor for Macy's. Good evening.
Sorry, first name, please?
David.
David, thank you. Okay, please.
So this will start with the variance for the external grease interceptor. So the type of food that will be served, it's a Starbucks, that is going to be a kiosk inside Macy's. So beverages and prepackaged, ready-to-eat sweets and sandwiches will be the food that will be offered. They're requesting a variance from Section 4, Part A as a new food establishment from having to install an external grease interceptor. My recommendation to the board is to vote to approve the variance from Section 4, Part A, and allow the new food service establishment to operate without installing an external grease interceptor with the following conditions, which were the ones that I just read, which they had received a copy of.
Okay. First, do we have any questions?
Marlene, what was the menu that's on here? Is it, it's got Tivana on there and Cava and what is this?
This was the menu that was provided to me. I believe Starbucks bought Tivana's.
So is this everything, you guys have all this stuff?
So it's gonna be the same as your full-serve Starbucks that's right across from the mall right now.
Holy moly.
We'll have nitro cold brew, we'll have everything that a full-serve has. So you're
Really?
right, Starbucks bought Tivana about 5 years ago, so we'll carry the tea products, the coffee core lineup, and the bakery sweets.
And this will be on the first floor,
Yep, it's right when you walk inside the mall to the right-hand side.
on the right-hand side, with the perfumes on it?
When you, which entrance, I was trying to look at that too.
If you're walking into Macy's
Into
from the
Macy's.
mall, it's on the
Right,
same
yeah,
side
that's-
as Cheesecake
That's what I
Factory.
thought.
And that whole area for the perfumes and.
It's where Levi's
I
is,
know,
so it's kind of like
Yeah.
tucked
It's a
away.
great place
Yeah.
for a Starbucks.
You can have a lot of lines.
Yeah, we're pretty excited.
How will, I'm just curious, thinking about Starbucks, thinking about lines, thinking about that area in general, how will you manage crowds?
I mean, honestly, it's gonna be an amenity to our current guest. We're not expecting, I have 4 other stores in the New England market, so Downtown Crossing, North Shore Mall, and we haven't seen it be out of
So
control
you
as far as
expect
guests.
flow's gonna be pretty
Yeah,
straightforward?
it flows just like, you know, a Starbucks, it's gonna get, we're not open during peak hours when, you know, that 6 to 8 time. Macy's
Yeah.
isn't open, so we won't be open. So it's not gonna be that grab-and-go customer. It's gonna be more an amenity to people who are shopping
Shopping,
around. So
yeah.
I think it will be managed well.
And you represent Macy's or you represent Starbucks?
I represent Macy's
You represent Macy's,
with a long history with Starbucks.
They do, okay. Any other questions?
Very interesting.
I do. Macy's doesn't, I don't know if Macy's has a long history with external and internal grease traps, but I know Starbucks does. And you clearly understand why we have this and why there's a variance and why Ms. Johnson will be very upset with you, as will the board, if they're not cleaned. Do you have a company, or do you clean it yourself, or?
Nope, we have a company, so I have the log that I can show you that we already have ready to go. We're not gonna be opening till November, but all of our stores that are operated within Macy's, we have a company that comes out, they follow the log, they come in, clean it. You know, if we're finding we need to clean it more often, we'll clean it more often, so.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I think Macy's has had food establishments in before, right? There used to be a restaurant.
No?
No,
Not
Nordstrom.
since.
Upstairs?
Not in New England, but we have a long history of having
In Boston?
operations, New York, Chicago.
Nordstrom's has.
Maybe I'm thinking of Jordan Marsh, because they did.
Yeah, Jordan
they
Marsh
did have.
certainly
Yeah,
did.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Absolutely, but
You're right.
it's something that our company is
It's
very.
new. This is new? Okay.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the blueberry muffins, aren't you?
That's
I have that recipe.
They would do it.
You're
Marlene,
right.
Is this a Part A or a Part B, Marlene?
I beg your pardon?
Is this a Part A or a Part B?
An A.
This is an A, because
This
it's
is
a
an A.
new establishment, not existing.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the variance request, Section 4, Part A, installation of a external grease interceptor for Starbucks kiosk inside Macy's in the Burlington Mall, where there are over 1,000 different ways to shop.
I second.
Any other comments, any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Okay, now, please stay there. All right. Second page tonight. Starbucks coffee kiosk at Macy's, 75 Middlesex Turnpike, plumbing variance recommendation. And you know that this will just be a recommendation from the board to the plumbing board, and we have had mixed success. But lately, we've been pretty good. And do you want to go through the variance?
Susan will do that
Susan,
one.
please.
So the applicant is seeking a recommendation on a plumbing variance for the Starbucks kiosk. The variance will be for a sewage ejector pump So the kiosk is located around 70 feet from the existing drain. So rather than having to trench up the sales floor, they want to use an ejector pump to go up and carry the water over and down into the drain. And they're also going to be asking for a variance from it's called an automatic vent. So they don't have to put a vent up to the roof. They install this automatic vent instead of having to go all the way up through the roof. So I did talk to the plumbing inspector. He just, we had a discussion and he offered some points for the board to consider, which would be, how far is it from the nearest accessible drain, and from the plans and from my discussions with the architect, he's the one that told me it was 70 feet. And, whether or not that's a hardship for them. He had no issues with the automatic vent. There's really no other way they can do it anyways. And then he questioned, well, what happens if there's a power outage? The pump wouldn't work in a power outage, but I'm assuming you have either a backup plan for power or you would just close down the kiosk. So those were the things that he brought up. So my recommendation is that you offer no objection to this.
But I would like to know the answer to that question.
If we have no power, we would close the kiosk, absolutely.
And is there water in that kiosk? Is there,
You have to wash stuff, right?
Yep, so we will have a 3-compartment sink, wash, rinse, and sanitize. We'll have water that gets up to the temp that we need to for proper hand washing and to wash the dishes. And then filtered water for all of our beverages.
okay. Now, I'll ask the director for, do we vote on the plumbing variances individually? So if they approve one and not the other, you're still a go? Or is it contingent you having this upon both variances approved?
I think it might be better to
Yeah.
put them in together as one.
Put them together as one?
That's,
Are you talking about,
We send this,
the two variances?
the two
Yes,
variants.
yes.
You do them together?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm not sure what happens if they approve one and not the other. It's a no-go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have just logistics. Where's the water coming from? Because I'm thinking, is it something shared with cheesecake, or, where's the,
the store has a central core of water in the back. Comes out on a sales floor, I would say, maybe 150, 100 feet from, 110, 120 feet away,
Overhead.
overhead.
and so that's how it's being,
Yes.
all overhead?
All over.
And the ejection will be up in the ceiling and over?
Yes.
Suspended ceiling? Any questions? So, a recommendation from the director is that the board vote to offer no objection to the request for a variance.
I see no issue with regard to public safety or public health in this issue, and so, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we offer no objection to the request for a variance of a sewage ejector pump and an automatic vent, as discussed.
Do I have
Second.
a second? Any other discussion? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We wish you well with the
I can
plumbers
go.
board.
We hope you come in. One quick
This is
thing.
2.5 hours less than the last one.
I know. We're the loving board.
One quick comment. I was on the sewer commission in my town for 5 years, and I just left to go back to work. I just want to thank you guys for all your effort on fog and grease traps, and we've had a hell of a time trying to enforce that, but you guys seem to get it, so thank you for that.
Oh, no, absolutely.
We
Thank you for,
we have Ms. Johnson. We enforce it.
One day, Mr. Johnson, I'd like to sit down and talk to you, like, how do you do it? Because it's always a bear, go to retailers and try to talk to them about grease traps.
Oh, yeah.
we see through the fog.
Thank you guys for all.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 4th of July.
You too.
you
Thank
too.
you.
Okay. Staff reports, environmental engineers report.
Good evening. I wanted to give you guys a few more details on a release that we had in town a couple weeks ago. A trash truck blew a hydraulic line at the high school and proceeded to drive all the way down Cambridge Street to Lakasha's, where they stopped again, and in the process, left a trail of hydraulic oil from point A to point B. We were called, and I responded to the site. When I got there, a representative from the trash hauling company was there, and they had a cleanup crew assembling. I drove the route to confirm the release, the extent of the release, and just after I got there, Mass DEP showed up. They had done the same, and after some doing, we got the resources to have the entire pathway sanded, and then the cleanup contractor followed the sand truck with a street sweeper to remove the contaminated sand. The worst part was at the intersection of Bedford Street and Cambridge Street, where actually the Mass DEP inspectors nearly got into an accident from somebody coming off of Bedford Street and fishtailing towards them onto Cambridge Street. It was a pretty big mess, but it was actually cleaned up in the course of a day, and there were luckily no vehicle accidents. So, if you're interested, there's still a little bit of a stain you can see going down the hill on Cambridge Street, but that'll remain until.
And you were there? And they called you, the fire department called you?
The fire department called me up, and so I went out initially, and then after meeting with DEP and the cleanup contractor and the trash hauling company, and getting all the pieces in motion, once I heard that the sand was down and swept, I went back out and redrove the route to make sure, in fact, it was done effectively, because the first attempt at sanding was not done quite as effectively as we had hoped, so.
Do we have questions?
Mr. Chairman,
I have a couple too. but-
Sure.
Fox Hill Road is again in your report. Are there further violations of the sump pump?
There was one further violation in May, and a ticket was issued, and the fine was paid.
And we have a new one on Vincent?
That is the one I spoke to you about a few meetings ago, where there was a new construction being built on Donald, and the neighbor next to that new construction had thought that the construction, some possible altering of the land, was causing runoff onto their property, and we couldn't confirm that. It was during the winter, so it was also a little bit difficult. There was some snow cover at times, and it turns out that somebody from around the corner on Vincent was actually directing their sump pump directly onto the back of that new construction, which was then impeding the slightly downgraded neighbor. So that ceased, and has since been corrected.
Okay, and then the last question is about the acid barrel on Kenny Ave. In the world?
Yeah, it was just a blue barrel, and we had a complaint. It was a blue barrel, the label said acid. I wrote a letter to the homeowners and said, please tell me what's in it, if anything, and what your intent is. And the homeowner called me back and said that her husband had picked it up thinking she might want to use it, and she did not. So I recommended that they just call our trash pickup for a bulk disposal, and they did.
Okay.
It was empty.
Okay, I was just perplexed.
Yeah, it was unique.
Okay. No danger.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a few questions too, and thanks, Christine, because one was about the hydraulic oil, the acid barrel, and the sump pump investigations. But, and I don't know if we should discuss, Susan, with your report, but the sump pump investigations led me to look at the sump pump enforcement policy that looks like it's underway, and protocol, so.
So, we met with David.
The subcommittee, yep.
Because I had started working on a sump pump policy.
Okay.
Kind of bring to the board. And David agreed to meet with me because he was interested in it as well.
Okay.
He made some, we sat down and we discussed it. He made some comments on it. I'm meeting with town council this week, so I didn't want to bring it to the board yet. until I
Sure.
met with town council.
Okay, great.
But I will put it in my report for the next meeting.
Just brought, I saw it on both reports, so, okay, great. And then, Christine, what is the municipal vulnerability workshop?
So, the town applied for, through the planning staff, for a grant to be considered an MVP community. And that takes a look at the town's vulnerability due to climate change. And it focused on, there were working groups. Susan and I attended several, Dr. Weiner attended at least one. And with the help of a consultant, it targeted 4 key areas where we can apply for grants to do further studies or actual physical infrastructure work within the town. One was flooding, extreme heat, extreme cold, and the 4th was drought. So the last phase was a public listening session where the public was invited to hear what the town staff and the consultant had put together before it went into the state for approval through the Department of Energy and Environment. So I think that report was going in this month, and we'll hear back whether we qualified for the grant status.
Thank you. And then the one last thing, I read about the 60 Blanchard Road. It sounds like they didn't reach out to you for,
No, they didn't.
to witness and inspect.
No.
So how does that, you
So-
can't sign off on that?
It was, they didn't do a proper closure of the original septic system in 1985 when they connected to town sewer. So when they were doing a phase 2 environmental site assessment for the sale of the property, and through file reviews, they had seen that there was a former septic, and they went out and found it, but forgot to call me to come out, so I had to dig it up again so I could witness it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Anybody else?
That was it. Thanks.
I know that we have reviewed the former Exxon facility for many years, and is it getting better?
Yes,
And they're still adding ORC?
they are. They're still
Oxygen
doing,
releasing carbon.
yep, they're still doing periodic treatment there, and
But
the
the-
levels are
But
declining.
the one we haven't talked about is US Wind Power, which is one of our worst in town over the past years. It says here, and I know an excellent review that's available, it said, from operation from November 18th to April 9th, for the same 5-month reporting period, all chlorinated hydrocarbons were non-detect in the treatment plant effluent, which is the cleaned effluent that's coming out of the pumps. It says that 1,4-dioxane was monitored in 4 wells, and all wells were non-detect. What does that particularly mean? It said that it was monitored, all wells were non-detect. In March 2019, the treatment system effluent concentration of 1,4-dioxane was 2.06. Is that a change in the concentration?
So there are monitoring wells, and those tested non-detect during the sampling round, and then there's a recovery well. And the recovery well is what feeds the influent to the treatment in the carbon bed system down there. And so they detected about 2 micrograms per liter on the influent, but it was non-detect on the effluent from the treatment system.
So it's cleaning out the 1,4-dioxane?
It is, surprisingly, because it's not, as activated carbon, the literature doesn't really support that as
That's what I was
an
wondering.
effect. It may just be that, at the pumping rate they're at, and at the low concentrations they're at, it seems to be working, so it's a good thing,
So the question is, it's getting better there also?
yes.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Health agent.
Good evening. The outdoor pools have all been inspected with a pre-operation inspection for the season in May. And Samantha was with me for the majority of those inspections, so I trained her how to do the inspections of the swimming pools. She did a fabulous job, and she's ready to go on her own this month. Tobacco compliance, you will be happy to know that in May and June, there was a tobacco compliance inspection. Everybody passed. I enclosed with my report some information about the CBD. FDA recently categorized CBD as a medication, and according to the food code, you can't add medication to food. So some of the retail stores, like the gas stations and places like that, they have packages that claim that they have the CBD in them. So
As
we're-
do some grocery stores.
Correct. So we are reaching out to all the food establishments to let them know that if they're putting it in their food, that they have to stop immediately, and if they have any products, that they need to pull that. FDA will be going after the manufacturers, so eventually they won't be able to purchase any of these products anyway. Food code training presentation. So today we had the food code training. So as I mentioned in past meetings, Massachusetts adopted a newer version of the food code, and so we had a big training. We had over 100 people today at the Burlington High School auditorium. So we invited just about all of the food establishments. So we had a really good crowd. The presentation was about an hour and hit key areas of the changes in the code. So that went very well. We gave them a handout with some information they can take back to the restaurants. And that is all I have.
I just have one question. Marlene, I just noticed that you did like a code red to invite. Is that new? Or you ever done that in the past? An invitation for the seminar for today?
Right, so the code red is just it's like a reverse 911, so we utilize that a lot,
Okay.
actually.
I didn't know if you did with the invitations. I was thinking that
We
was a
did,
high
yes.
attendance. That's great.
We did, and what's nice is it's a phone call and an email, so we're able to attach an invitation to the email.
Great.
So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I just draw to the community's attention, while all of our staff are doing fantastic jobs advocating for our town, as I look at this, as I look at the report from our health agent is involved in pools, certifying food establishments, looking into tobacco shops and tobacco compliance, talking about service animals, doing camp applications. I just cannot think of a board and a staff and a health agent who are doing more to advocate for this town, and I just want to make that part of the record.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
So what about service animals? You met
I
with
saw that in there too,
Island
yeah.
Creek Oyster Bar.
So they had called and inquired what the rule was. And so a lot of people don't realize that they can ask two questions, and they can ask, is that a service animal? And if the person says yes, they can legally ask, what was the animal trained to do? So those are the two questions that they can ask.
Has that been a change? Were you able to ask anything before?
No, those are the only two, as far as I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And service, they don't have to be certified, do they?
No, they do not. They don't have to wear tags or special, coats or,
So how do they become a service animal?
that I don't know.
Just buy a tag? Which they don't need.
Well, they don't need, right?
So a food establishment can say, is that a service dog?
Correct,
The answer is no, then obviously it can't come in.
correct,
The answer is yes, they can then follow that question up with, what is it trained to do?
correct.
And these are both appropriate questions that a food establishment can ask anyone with an animal in order to have that animal come in.
Correct. Also, if the service animal misbehaves, so if the animal is barking, if the animal decides it's going to eat food off of somebody's table, the establishment can ask the person to get the dog under control. And if they can't get the dog under control, they can ask the person to leave with their service animal. They have the right to do that.
So I think this is very important for the community to understand. We take regulations very seriously, and we enforce them, and we advocate for the community. Please make sure that you understand, if you have a service dog, what establishments are allowed to do in asking about that service dog. I think this is a really important point. No peacocks, I'm assuming.
No, miniature horses, though, are recognized in Massachusetts.
Miniature horses I have no problem with. Peacocks can be nasty.
Massachusetts as a service animal. Yeah, miniature horses.
Well, are there any other questions?
No.
Not, do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have the Associate Health Inspector here, too. This is a great opportunity.
This is the day the Lord hath
This is
made.
great. Privilege. Please, Samantha, what would you like to talk about? What would you like to?
Well, I think Marlene got most of it. I've been working on the pools with her, ready to go out and do the routine inspections for that. Recreational camps have begun. We're doing inspections for them. I think we have 2 more inspections. We have 5 camps this season. And the only other thing I wanted to highlight was that I did sit in on a webinar by the state, which was discussing restricting sale of flavored tobacco products to adult-only, so 21-plus shops, and it was very informative. And so I'm going to take all of the information that I got from that and see, if I can make it a little more concise, and then if anyone's interested.
So we're over 21 for all products, so does that not apply to us right now?
There are, so the vape shops, which you need to be ID'd at the door, you have to be 21 to go in. It would be restricting the sale of flavored tobacco products to only those stores. So gas stations where, anyone can walk in would not be able to sell those products.
Which we discussed.
We did discuss that.
We discussed it when we were talking
Because that
about the
was,
regulations.
I remember the owner who had a question about that.
Yeah, and a lot more boards of health are doing it now, putting in allowing only flavored products in these over 21 shops. And in addition, they're actually going one step further and also putting menthol products in with that as well.
I thought the whole idea, that the woman who came before us, all she brought was the flavored stuff. But that's flavored tobacco or flavored vaping, where they're making a difference?
They would all be considered
Okay.
tobacco
I thought we did
products.
that already.
We didn't. It was the one thing that the board did not want to do at the
Oh,
time.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, was that out of, that
Yeah.
must have been when it was out of respect for
We
that?
at that
Right.
felt
For
that
that guy.
we could make it over 21, and that we did not want to set up a situation where there was inappropriate competition.
Got it.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it's either in the Globe or the Wall Street Journal, I can't remember which, there's a full-page ad from Jewel about restricting sales of their flavored products to 21 years and older.
What,
And
Jewel,
Jules,
Yeah,
is
Jules.
saying they're gonna do that?
they're encouraging, they are,
They're doing
Yeah.
the
yeah,
right thing.
I mean, but still, they're making an effort. I'm not
It's probably
too
going to
cynical.
be I mean, this is something that the federal government is looking at as well, so
Right.
it might
Right.
be,
FDA.
FDA might actually.
The state is also
Whatever.
looking into it, but they're encouraging local boards of health to start doing it to show interest so that it would be easier for them to make their case to do it statewide.
And they're now saying that e-cigarettes for adults who smoke is a good option for trying to quit.
Yeah.
So I think that's
I-
going to be the latest sales pitch.
I have one question.
Have something.
Do we have a date for shelter drill yet?
That I do not know.
No.
Okay, thank you. If there are no any questions, do we have a motion to approve the Associate Health Inspectors?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Supervisory Nurse.
Just a couple of things. We do have, we're working on scheduling a Narcan training for our volunteers, and I believe the public We're going to have them come in also. I have a tentative date, but nothing's been confirmed yet. And as far as the matter of balance, I attended the coach training, and I know Ed, you and Libby, you were, so it was very interesting to see how those classes were run, and hopefully, I did observe a class. I'm not sure if you got to a chance to observe a class being taught. It was very interesting. It's a very good program. It's to prevent falls. Hopefully going to be starting that at the Board of Health with collaboration with the Council on Aging with our volunteer coaches in September. Try to do it in September to November, and then maybe April to June, twice a year. You have a question?
Okay, question, please.
Should we have Narcan in your office?
I am pushing for Narcan in the building, yes. In my office, if I'm not there, it's locked, and there's only a couple people that have a key to that. I think it should be public accessible in a cabinet. We're working on that.
And here's my next question, and I don't know the answer to this question, and I don't know if I'm being ridiculously provocative. Do we have Narcan in the schools?
Narcan's I believe, talking to Barbara, that they do have it in the schools. Actually, she gave me the resource that I have to check out to find out where we can purchase Narcan.
I mean, we've been ahead of the curve on so many different things. It really seems that we should be ahead of the curve on this as well. So if our first responders, us, schools haven't gotten together, then I would highly suggest that we do that and that we be advocates for this. There's recommendations that everybody have Narcan.
I believe that every building, every public building should have, AED, Narcan, of course, I'm a nurse speaking.
We have the AEDs.
I do know that all the police officers.
They carry it, yeah.
No, I get the first responders do, but I think,
And I think the school nurses also.
they do?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great to know. Okay.
Yep, the schools do
Okay,
have it.
great. That
There
makes
is
me
a
happy.
standing state order that anybody can go in who's been trained into a pharmacy and get Narcan. So the question is, who pays for it? Some pharmacies, I have been told, will try to charge your insurance. Others give it to you. We're not on the same page with that either. So at some point, we should probably,
Fascinating
as a
discussion.
public health nurse, look
Yes.
into the fact how we can get some doses for people in the community.
I would definitely advocate for that.
Yeah, I did get a resource from Barbara on who to call. I'm going to be doing that sometime this week.
That's great.
Getting in touch with them and finding out even if we can get it donated somewhere, which we might be able to. I'm not sure, but I'll try to push for that. For our building, at least get a couple, maybe one on each floor.
It sounds like a huge training program.
It's actually, I talked to Mark, it's about an hour's training.
Right, but I mean, an hour is an
Yes,
hour.
right.
But there are probably thousands of people, or not thousands, hundreds of people at a minimum that need to know. That's what I mean by huge.
Yeah, we took it, the Reserve Corps took it at the Winchester Hospital, and it was a matter of about a half-hour training.
Right, I'm not concerned about the time it takes, I'm concerned about the number of people. that
The
know
number
how
of
to
people and
use
the
it.
time to train those people.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, true, and I believe what the DPW wants to do, the Stop the Bleed training, which I think is a fabulous idea to get those departments on board, and then maybe talk to Mark and see if maybe he can also they should be having Narcan as well in their departments. So it's something we're working on right now. But tomorrow, we have our trafficking presentation at the Grandview Farm from 6 to 8, and it's the Assistant Attorney General that'll be presenting with somebody else. So it'll be a very interesting, informative presentation. It's open to the public. So that'd be from 6 to 8, and they need to call the Board of Health to sign up for the presentation, but walk-ins are also welcome, so.
Wow.
Do we have any questions for our director?
I have a question from left field. So, many years ago, we had a grant for needle disposal. We put one in the foyer for the fire department. And there was, I don't even know why I'm even thinking about this, but it just popped into my head. and we had a grant to cover emptying and all of that. Is that on autopilot now, where we don't have to worry
Oh,
about it?
yeah, we still, it's going really well. We have people who come to the office to get the dispensers. It's not only, we have ours, maintain ours in the fire department, which is well used. They also have one in the police department now. So people can either go to the fire department or the police department 24/7.
So there's absolutely no reason to think that there should be any issue with disposing of needles. We have plenty of spots in town where that can be just taken care of. And are we taking care of that now, or is it, it's not on grant anymore, so that's something
Right,
we
it's
do?
coming out of our household hazardous waste budget.
Yeah, that's great.
Just to add,
Along those
I just wanted to say that in the police department, there's also an unused medication kiosk.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. It's
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
So I just want to make a play for anyone who has bottles of medication that are not being used, and otherwise just sitting there and you're thinking, maybe I'll flush it down the toilet, or maybe I'll throw it in the trash. Please, bring it to the Burlington Police Department for disposal. I know Woburn has one as well. They have a plan as well. But please, there should not be any unused medication in your home for obvious reasons, and please do not put it down the toilet or don't throw it away.
It has to be in its original containers though, correct?
There's issues with labels and stuff like that, but why worry about it? Just bring it to the police department and dispose of it safely and appropriately, please. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, just a comment. This year, we had a terrific group of interns. We received a beautiful letter from Neil Pandit, who's been accepted to medical school.
That's too bad.
Yes, we've had a number of them, and I hope we continue this. This has been very valuable, not only for the community and for us, but also for them. And I just want to congratulate the whole team for educating those people and providing them a taste of public health. So I just want to thank you all.
Who got into medical school?
Neil Pandit,
Really?
in a direct program.
That is phenomenal.
He's also one of our MRC volunteers.
Yes, he is. And he takes he does our, even does our photography. He's a wonderful.
Where's he
If you're
going?
watching for
Where's
Neil,
he going? Yeah,
congratulations.
that's the question.
know?
Where?
Where is he going into?
It's in Pennsylvania. I
Yeah,
can't
it's in
think of the name of
Pennsylvania.
it.
Yeah.
It's a pre-med program.
So it's like a 6-year, it's like a combined program?
He told me 7
The
years.
7-year program?
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good luck, Neil.
Yeah, good luck to
He's
Neil.
watching.
That's fantastic.
You're watching, Neil. Thank you for doing all you did.
Wow.
And everyone else who was here.
Wow. Good comeback. It's good.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. That's it. I have a,
No.
oh, I'm sorry. Director, we don't need her. We don't need her.
It's the seat
I
changing.
just
I
one,
used to be chair, I know about these things.
used to be chair, you know. I'll tell you, I can't, the things that our director does, page after page after page, and she even keeps me in line, as she did today in front of the DEP. But please,
So I have a few things. The bleeding control stations, we received them, the ones that I talked about last time for the grant. So we have 14 of those, and so I just need to work with the facility department about getting those next to our AEDs, mounted next to AEDs.
We theoretically would have Stop the Bleed, Narcan, and AEDs all in.
Geez, we're gonna have little medical facilities in all
You
places.
cannot have Narcan, it's my understanding, you cannot have Narcan in a public setting. This is what Mark Saya has told me.
In a public setting, meaning what?
You can't have it next to it like an
On the
AED.
wall.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
has to be
But
locked in a
You can have
drawer.
a bleeding control station, so,
that's
yeah.
right.
So, we're gonna install those next to the AEDs that we maintain, and also the ones here, so town hall, first and second floor. I talked to the town administrator, he was, very happy with it, glad to have it, and, so that'll be something that we'll be working on and getting those up. I've also done the MRC work plan and budget for next year. I don't know if you noticed in my report, but the work plan is tied to several deliverables. So the deliverables are the requirements for next year. So I wrote out all the requirements, how we were gonna meet those requirements and tied it into our next year's budget. One of the requirements for the work plan is that you have to have stop the bleed training, at least one stop the bleed training. Well, we've been doing that now for a couple of years, so we're good with that, and just have to continue with the program that we have. With these installation of the bleeding control stations, I want to do some more training in the public buildings, so I did talk to the town administrator about that as well, about training town employees on stop the bleed. So we're gonna be working on that in the upcoming year with the installation of the bleeding control stations. And also for the DPW workers, and, we already did it for the library. So one of the other things in the grant is to have these kits that we've already done in a grant before, where the kit includes the tourniquet, bandages, gloves, blanket, so that the worker, whoever attends the trainings, can take those with them and keep them in their vehicle or whatever. So that's in our MRC work plan for the trauma kits. I also included in there materials for recruitment projects. So beginning in September, I've had Katie Capabianco, who is the MRC person that we have under the grant, she did a whole plan for going out into the community and trying to recruit new volunteers with posters, etc. So we're gonna start that in September. I put in there funds for a camera so that we can work more with social media. A first aid tent, especially for Celebrate Burlington. So in that crowd, you can't really see our white tent. So I wanted to get a red tent so you can actually tell that it's a first aid tent, because we have MRC volunteers who staff that all day long during Celebrate Burlington. And then additional recruitment materials. We're gonna be having CPR training as well. So in 2020, we're up for a new CPR training, so that's every 2 years. So that's about all we get $5,000. That's the plan, to use the $5,000 in the upcoming.
Fantastic.
And then I've been looking at the next year's schedule for our programs. The health fair for 2020, we talked about it might be better to move that up a little bit rather than in May. So I have that scheduled for March 28th, 2020. So that'll bring us, we have to start planning for that way sooner. But I think that if we do it earlier, we may get more attendance, or at least we'll find out what the attendance is like if we do that earlier. So we're
I
gonna
would love,
start working on that.
So, I love it. Do we have an idea about potential interns?
So the interns usually come at the beginning of the semester, so they start trying to seek us out, maybe December, January, so they might be able to work on it for a couple of months, depending on, UMass Lowell definitely knows that they send their students to us, and sometimes I get students who just word of mouth, or if they live in town. But yeah, that's one possibility. But now, we have it pretty much down pat.
Yeah.
Too. But, yeah, so that we could do that. And then also, I'm working on the schedule for the EDS drill. So September 28th would be the date for that. That's what I'm going to try and schedule that for, which hopefully we'll have our vaccine in, or
Yeah.
most of it by that time. So we have to start planning for that now. And we'll have staff meetings starting in July on planning for that, if it's gonna be September 28th.
Where will it be this year?
Oh, so in Memorial School, we'll keep it in Memorial School, but I'd like to do the change in configuration, just to kind of test us and see how it works, because if it was a true EDS, we need some place to put the medications, and that back room in the cafeteria area is perfect for that. So we change the flow. So in other words, think of flipping it. So the dispensing area would be in the actual cafeteria, and the registration area would be in the gym.
Will we have the Bullmobile by then?
The what?
The Bullmobile.
Mobile.
Oh, I think we're supposed to get that that'll be around September, yeah.
With the red light. One
Does
other.
it come off?
Have you ever thought of speaking to Northeastern University about a cooperative education person here that we'd have a intern around the whole year.
It's a good idea.
We could look at that, yeah.
I mean, we could call the Cooperative Education Department, and then we would have an intern or a co-op student 12 months a year, and rather than we have to rush and look for somebody
Well,
prior
We
to.
should, we
I,
could,
I would really want to make sure that we plan out, that we know what they're going to do
They're
ahead
gonna
of
do.
time.
Oh,
Because-
we- it
Because
could-
we
it could be
are
a-
so busy that sometimes it's, I want to make sure that we're.
You can mentor them, right.
it could be a taste of the Board of Health.
Because,
They could rotate through health agent, rotate through environmental engineer, rotate through supervising nurse, rotate through director, rotate through assistant health inspector.
And then maybe have enough background, I don't know, to qualify after a couple of seasons here, maybe for for some type of a certification. I'm not sure what they need, but they, I don't, especially if do they have to have I don't believe they have to have a Bachelor of Science
Which certification,
for the most basic.
registered sanitarian, did have to have their Bachelor of Science.
So they can't
yeah,
do that.
And they have to
Okay.
pass an
30 credits.
Maybe
No,
we
we
should
don't
look
wanna
into
get
it.
in that.
30 credits
30
or
credits of science.
30 credits of science and the BS, or just 30 credits of science? Both. Okay,
Awesome.
awesome.
So, that's it.
It's enough? Wow, you're very busy, very, very, we're very lucky to have this staff.
I'm looking at the article again about myths about swimming pools.
If you can smell
I'm
the,
not seeing a oh!
It's
Here it
there.
is.
I wouldn't
Here it
forget
is.
about you.
A strong chlorine odor means a clean, healthy pool. Myth, strong odor of chlorine means there is a high level of chloramines, and this odor may indicate a low level of disinfectant in the pool. Thank you very much.
you can't win.
That's
You
working
can't.
out really
awesome.
well.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So very moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess that's it. I just have one comment. I have been notifying and letting everyone know that I will not be at the next meeting.
What? This
I,
is
after,
the first I'm hearing of this.
all year that I will be in the Holy Land. I will be in Israel, traveling, and I will leave this to my vice chair. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night, everybody. Be safe.
And wash your hands.
Wash your hands, stay hydrated.